Night Health continues. We're going to take a look at Pilates and what Pilates is. Can Pilates really make me feel good, both physically and mentally? We have an expert in Pilates with us today. Her name is Gia Marakas. Gia, welcome to Late Night Health.
Hi, Mark. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. And one of the things that everybody has to know about Gia, if you go to a class, you must ask her to laugh for you. Go ahead. She has one of the most infectious laughs. It's a little sexy, too. Okay.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Of course, I have socks older than you are, but that's another story. Okay, here we go. See, I got it. There we go. What is Pilates?
Pilates is a German form of exercise. It's strengthening and stretching your body at the same time. It's kind of it is the perfect workout ultimately.
How does it differ from yoga? Because yoga is the same. It says it's the same thing.
Yes and no. I mean, there's absolutely a lot of stretching in yoga, and there is some lengthening, but not quite as much as there is in Pilates. Basically, I would say the primary difference is just that Pilates is Western and yoga is Eastern. And yoga is meditative, whereas Pilates is not. Pilates really is just straight up exercise.
You were a dancer. Classically,
I was.
You were, dancing from the age of 4, I think, to the hustle.
Yeah, exactly.
And to your parents'
My
8-track.
parents' 8-track tape. That's right. I can do the hustle. Even to this day, I amaze all my friends as I can still pretty much hustle my way through anything.
And you can still do those moves that you did?
Absolutely, yeah. I know every single hustle there is. I'm frightened to say. In dancing, I guess you sustained an injury. I did.
Is that what led you to Pilates?
Yeah, essentially, yes. I mean, I knew about Pilates before I got injured. Most dancers have knowledge of Pilates just because it is really a big part of our world. And you'll talk to people and fellow dancers, and they'll say, "Well, I hurt myself, and I rehabilitated my injury through Pilates." Or a lot of dancers will just take Pilates classes as a way to just kind of keep themselves nice and live and strong. So I knew about it even before I got injured. But essentially, I got really passionate about it once I started doing it to rehabilitate myself.
Joseph Pilates started this. You've told me a little bit about him. He was a circus performer, a contortionist.
He was a circus performer. He was a contortionist. He was a boxer, a trapeze artist. He was a really, really interesting guy. I always wanted to.
What was the name? I always wanted to try the trapeze. Burt Lancaster had a great film, and he was a trapeze artist, but he fell and he became the janitor for the circus.
Oh, no.
I don't remember what it was.
That's not a very happy story.
Well, the Man on the Flying Trapeze. That was.
No, I know
you,
that
Daryl.
movie, yeah.
Yes, it was a great film.
It was.
And, but it looked like fun. Yul Brynner, I think, was a trapeze artist.
Yul Brynner was also a spectacular dancer, and ironically enough, Yul Brynner actually did do Pilates.
Did he really?
There's some photos. It's funny you bring him up because there's actually some photos in the original Pilates studio where I studied in New York City at West 57th and Broadway of Yul Brynner with Pilates.
I can picture that street corner in my brain.
Yeah. He actually, Steve McQueen studied with Pilates. Ally McGraw, quite a few actors were actually quite close with Pilates. Brando, a lot of that whole generation, they all sort of really admired and enjoyed working with Pilates.
And Brando must have stopped Pilates toward the end.
After Streetcar Named Desire.
Yeah, oh boy.
Or on the waterfront, actually.
What is the mystique about Pilates? It's become more popular 20 years after his death than it was while he was alive.
Yeah, it wasn't, it's ironic because while he was alive, the only people that really did Pilates were mostly dancers, actors, musicians, mostly the sort of bohemian kind of, subculture
artsy
of New York City.
people.
They were the ones who really kind of caught on to Pilates and really sort of championed it.
Yoga, as you said, is different. It's
yoga
Eastern.
Is primarily, yoga is absolutely very fluid in the same way that Pilates is, but yoga is done mostly on the mat, and it also has a huge meditative aspect to it.
Correct.
Whereas Pilates, we do Pilates on the mat, but we also use a lot of different apparati, which are, basically machines. So it's a little bit more varied.
Apparati. I wonder if that's the same as Lexi. Many Lexuses, apparatus, equipment. And
Exactly.
Joseph
Apparatus is just another word for equipment.
Right. And Joseph Pilates invented some of the
He did.
equipment.
He invented several. In fact, I think something over 35 or 40 apparati actually in his lifetime. So.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he was a really, really, he was an interesting guy. He was an inventor, he was a exercise guru, he was all sorts of he did a lot of really interesting things.
Why do you think Pilates has become so popular now? Are we more into?
I think about that a lot.
Okay.
I ask myself that, and I ask my students that too. And I think that it's kind of twofold. I think first, unfortunately, because we do live in such a celebrity-driven culture, I think once celebrities began to start studying it and started to talk about it in magazines and on television, people started to kind of ask about it and look into it and say, well, what is this? Like, what is it that, these actors are doing who are looking so fantastic? I think that's number one. And number two, people began to sort of realize that it was a great rehabilitation tool, and that many people who were trying physical therapy and were not getting the results that they really wanted or needed turned to Pilates. And many of them found that Pilates gave them better results than they got doing physical therapy.
Would you say that Pilates is the best form of exercise available today?
Yes, I would say that wholeheartedly. Granted, I'm prejudiced because it's
Right.
what I teach and it's what I'm most passionate about. But I would say it really is the perfect exercise. I say that because it really does address everything that you need. It addresses your body, it addresses your mind, it addresses your spirit. It really is a sort of whole, all-encompassing way of working out.
Everybody says theirs is the best. Are there any studies? Have there been studies? I know there's studies on yoga and the meditative aspect of it. It lowers blood pressure. Exercise in general lowers blood pressure.
Yeah.
And there are other studies to show cardiovascular benefits. What about on Pilates?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of studies. Pilates is, in the fitness world, Pilates is referred to as a thinking man's exercise. And ironically enough, they actually did do a study I think it was about 5 or 10 years ago, and I have to say, this always makes me laugh, that people who, oftentimes when you talk to people who do yoga, they'll refer to their yoga as a practice. And
right.
That's another big distinction between yoga and Pilates. Pilates is not a practice. Pilates is a discipline. And that makes it quite different. So most of the people that are drawn to Pilates and end up studying it for any extended amount of time tend to really be thinkers and people who don't want to check out when they exercise, people who really want to focus and want to kind of be in the moment, but without being meditative. So it's kind of it makes it very, very unique in that way.
Being in the moment. We are talking about Pilates with our guest, Gia, and she trains celebrities. We'll be talking about that in a little bit. She actually goes to movie sets and works with star caliber talent as they prepare for parts and get ready for their roles in films throughout. I guess you've traveled throughout the world with them.
I have, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And we are talking about Pilates. What about the breathing aspect? With yoga, it's in through the nose, out through the mouth?
Yeah, and with Pilates, it's all in through the nose and out through the nose.
And I'm a nose breather. And
well, that's a good thing. You'll be an excellent Pilates student.
I don't breathe through my mouth at all,
Uh-huh.
even when I have a cold. So that means I snore. And we now have a snoring room for those nights when Mark
I was
has.
gonna say, your wife, I'm sure, enjoys every moment of that.
Oh, she really does. She likes kicking me out of bed. It's terrible. If I were to do Pilates on a regular basis, would the snoring go away, do you think?
You know, that's a good. It's funny because there's a lot of people who have sleep apnea.
Mm-hmm.
I have quite a few students actually who have sleep apnea, and many of them have told me that as they continue to study Pilates, their sleep apnea has gotten a lot better. And they don't, because a lot of people who have sleep apnea use those breathing machines.
Right.
And I think what happens a lot of times is that when people don't breathe properly, and you kind of get more fatigued, and you won't sleep as well. And if you learn how to breathe properly, you'll get a better night's sleep. So it will absolutely help you sleep better, and you'll sleep deeper, and I think you'll get a more fulfilling and more restful slumber.
Daryl and I are rushing to your studio because we both need to sleep.
Are you
better.
insomniacs?
We're insomniacs.
I have a lot of
I'm sorry?
insomniacs, Mark.
I
You'd
have
be
the sleep
surprised.
apnea, too.
Oh, and Daryl has sleep apnea as well.
Oh, does he?
Do you
Okay,
use the machine?
I have one.
Yeah, that's what everybody says. They have one.
I have one.
I have one.
Breathing machine?
The breathing machine.
A lot of people do. You'd be surprised how many people I talk to have them.
It's it's Darth Vader. I guess the newer ones are quieter
I've never made it all the way through the night with it.
because you sleep and you pull it off.
Right.
Yeah.
It just upsets me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you have to sleep on your back with that?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, because it's and they have newer ones that are smaller, and they have.
So
They-
what?
Yeah, I know exactly. I think we just need to lose our bellies, and maybe that'll stop it.
Well, that will certainly help for
And
sure.
Pilates can help with that.
Pilates will absolutely help with that.
When somebody goes to a gym and works out with weights, runs on a treadmill, they come back and they're sweaty
When they're exhausted.
and they're exhausted. Are you exhilarated when you finish a Pilates workout?
Yes, that's one of the primary differences between weight training and Pilates. I've weight trained in the past and I like it. I don't have any issues with it. But with that said, I always would end up being really tired, and I never liked that feeling. And with Pilates, you don't really feel that way. You end up feeling invigorated and sort of ready to take on the day if you work out in the morning or at night. If I have a student at night, my session will be a little bit different because I know that they're preparing for bed.
And too much exercise can
wire you up.
Wire you up, and you won't sleep then.
Exactly.
We're going to take some time out, and we're going to come back and continue our conversation. We'll talk about working out on a movie set with celebrities. Our guest is Gia Marakas. She's a Pilates master, and we will continue as Late Night Health moves on.